Woman is accusing Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax of sexual assault.
This claim dating back to when both were students at Duke University in the year 2000.
So the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, Justin Fairfax, he's in a little bit of trouble, if you will. He's been accused of a Me Too type situation, and we're actually learning some breaking news that a second woman has come forward against him with accusations saying that she was raped by him in 2000 when they were both students at Duke University. So the situation's not looking good. And obviously, Virginia has a lot of other problems, a blackface situation, KKK robe situation, and also the turn in that was Governor Ralph Northam. And then the AG of Virginia also dressed in blackface. So there is just so much going on. We are hearing Democrats condemn it, but there isn't that same urgency and that outrage that we have seen with Republicans who have faced, I guess, not similar things. I haven't seen any Republican politicians, any photos surface of them wearing blackface.
No.
Obviously, we've seen the Me Too stuff. We saw what happened during the Kavanaugh protest. But yeah, so Justin Fairfax, you went out to the Capitol. You were Capitol Hill reporter for the Daily Caller Foundation. And you were asking questions. I mean, a lot of the people that were very outspoken during the Kavanaugh protests over the allegations against Kavanaugh, and we do remember the Democrats being very vocal about it. They wanted him to not be confirmed. They didn't believe that he deserved due process. And so now it's interesting how Democrats are reacting to this situation, and that is that they want the process to play out. They want to hear the stories. They want more evidence before they just start to, accuse them of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So what have people been telling you on Capitol Hill? I mean, you're trying to hold these same politicians that were so outspoken against Kavanaugh. You want to hold them accountable and at least get their responses.
Absolutely. You and I both have been covering a lot of these Kavanaugh protests for a while now, or were covering them when it was relevant. So my job was basically to go out there and ask essentially every Democrat who I saw if they believe Justin Fairfax is accuser. And as you know, they were the allegations against Judge Kavanaugh were just accusations. They were accusations. They were put forward by Blasey Ford, as you mentioned. But these same people who put Kavanaugh through the ringer in these hearings, Dianne Feinstein, ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, she would not even say that she even knew who Fairfax was. Now, as you know, this has all been in the news every single day. This has been on the front page of every paper. It's been on every cable news network. So she definitely knows who he is, but she won't acknowledge it. And this is the same message that I've been getting from every single Democrat that I've talked to.
Okay, and you talked to Bernie Sanders. You actually chased him down the halls of Congress. What did he say to you?
Mr. Sanders did not want to respond. He was very mad that I was recording him and asking him questions. But yet he would not answer the question. He acknowledged that he was on the phone. And I called him out. I said, Bernie Sanders, you're not on the phone, man. I'm looking at your phone screen. It's not on a call. And now, do you believe Justin Fairfax is accuser? Is accuser.
Okay, Ari. Okay. What time?
You don't.
Excuse me.
You're not on the. You're not on the phone. You're not on the phone.
Excuse me,
sir. I'm asking you a question. Justin Fairfax is accuser. And he turned around and abruptly looked at me and he said, "Hey, stop being so rude! Stop being so rude!" And he continued walking. And I caught some heat for it, but at the same time, this is what you have to do. You have to hold these people accountable. I mean, Bernie Sanders was out there protesting Kavanaugh, protesting, his nomination, and here he is on the Supreme Court after an FBI investigation cleared his name. So, I mean, should we believe all women or what? I mean, honestly.
So you talked to Feinstein. You talked to Bernie Sanders. Who else did you reach out to?
I've talked to over 10 Democratic senators, including both Virginia senators, Tim Kaine and Mark Warner, who, when I originally asked them yesterday, they said they were too busy. They were on their way to vote on the Senate floor. They didn't have time to talk to me about it. I talked to Chris Murphy, Bernie Sanders, Dianne Feinstein, Debbie Stabenow. I've talked to Doug Jones, Senator Joe Manchin, Bob Menendez. These are just some of the names that I've talked to. And every single one of them either did not acknowledge it, so they've never heard about it, or they said, let's wait and see what happens here. I don't know what's going on, and kind of played stupid. And I think that is just the hypocrisy you're seeing from that side. You're not seeing anything. I mean, imagine if this was a Republican in this position facing all this scrutiny like Fairfax was. There would be a mob outside of the Virginia State House of people demanding he resign. But yet here we are, people defending him, people not saying anything about him, and kind of just trying to throw it under the rug.
And I've even heard some liberals admit that this whole situation would be treated differently if it were Republicans found in blackface or KKK robe, or also this whole Me Too situation. So it is interesting that there is a lack of interest. They don't really want to talk about it. They do believe in due process now, which is fascinating. And I believe in due process. And, I think that this should be investigated. And if it needs to go to court, if this woman wants to press charges, that's fine. I'm not jumping to conclusions. I'm just blown away by this reaction from the left, which is exactly what I was talking about months ago during the Kavanaugh protests, is that this was this whole Me Too situation was being used as a political tool, a political weapon to take down someone they did not like.
Yeah, I mean, these people have no basis to not call for an investigation into these accusations. But some of them have been saying, well, just because Fairfax is lieutenant governor, I mean, that changes the whole game. They're saying he's not going to be, it's not a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court. So, I mean, maybe we should look at it a little differently. But why are we doing it that way? I mean, I thought that every woman's opinion mattered. All these accusations mattered. And I actually do believe that. I'm not jumping to conclusions either. I think everybody should be heard. I think everybody should be listened to. And I think that these investigations should be, completed and actually opened. Considering they haven't even opened an investigation yet. Just like the Kavanaugh thing. There was a due process. There was a process. People were not happy about it. But at the same time, there was an investigation. And at the end of the day, there was no evidence that he had done anything wrongdoing. So, I mean, let's hear the facts. But let's not deny that this is going on. And that's what the Democrats are doing.
Henry also heard reports that Fairfax, in a closed-door meeting with his staff, said F that B word. So not nice. I mean, these are reports. I don't have the evidence of it, but this has been reported on, and the sources told NBC News.
Right.
Not a good look for this lieutenant governor.
No.
And especially, to disrespect a woman like that.
Can you imagine if Kavanaugh was in a closed-door meeting or a room and said F that B about Blasey Ford? I mean, can you imagine what would happen, the outrage, what would happen?
Yeah, and there was only a couple of articles written on this, and I know that he's denied it, and that's fine. But if this were Kavanaugh, of course, there would be wall-to-wall coverage on this.
There would be riots in the streets.
There would be riots on the streets. So it is amazing. Like I said, he has the right to defend himself. He has the right to defend his name. But if you look at this accuser, Dr. Vanessa Tyson, she's also a professor at Scripps College in California. So, this is somebody that the left would say is credible. This is a professor. Why would she come out here? She has so much to lose by bringing her story forward. And Vanessa gave a very descriptive account of what happened. And so this Fairfax had invited her to his hotel room back in 2004, and he needed to grab some paperwork,
Yikes.
which is, if somebody invites you to their hotel room, nothing good could come
Not
of that.
good, yeah.
Don't go. But if you do go, doesn't mean you should be assaulted, and no means no, right?
Absolutely.
Again, we're not accusing him of anything. He has the right to defend himself. But, she said that they had a kiss. It was consensual. Then he forced her to give him oral sex. She was crying. She was upset. And then this was at a Democratic National Convention in Boston. So she says. And what's also interesting is that she went to the Washington Post and talked about her account and gave her story, and they decided not to run with the story because they didn't have enough corroborating witnesses.
Right.
Which also Kavanaugh was not given this sort of respect. They were just running wild with stories.
Of course.
Then they had to apologize for running these stories of women that didn't have the witnesses to corroborate what was the claims that were made. So it's pretty, again, amazing. Journalists have been reckless with the coverage of Kavanaugh. They've been very much careful with Fairfax.
They've been very
careful.
They won't even touch it. They won't even touch it. If this was a Republican, I'll say again, if this was a Republican, he would have been out of office first day, right when this happened, right when the news broke. Regardless if the allegations were true, regardless if an investigation had happened, out of office first day. He is receiving such special treatment. and the fact that the governor of Virginia is still in office after the blackface scandal. All of these things. It shows you the hypocrisy that's coming from the left. None of them want to talk about it. These are real issues. It's a real person who was affected, real person whose life she says was affected.
When he admitted that the whole hotel room situation actually happened, he just, in his view, it was consensual, the whole thing, from beginning to end.
And the difference, I mean, Blasey Ford, when she came out with her allegations, she came out of the woodwork 30 years basically later and hadn't told anyone.
Yeah.
Supposedly this woman, Dr. Tyson, had at least told some people about it, I think, and it was like a somewhat recent time frame in the last 5 years at least, the last 5-10 years, not 20, 30 years randomly pulling this out.
Well, her incident happened in 2004, so it's been a while. But again, apparently she did tell people about it.
Spoke out, though, in, 2017?
Yes.
Okay.
And so that's when the Washington Post didn't run the story because they needed a little more evidence before they would run a story because, they offer Republicans that courtesy, right? I'm just kidding, they don't. And then now we're learning about the second woman coming forward. She's accusing the lieutenant governor of sexual assault. Again, this happened at Duke University, she says, in the year 2000. She said they were friends, but they never dated. This was a press release that just came out just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
So this is an ongoing story. We're going to continue to learn more. But this is pretty damaging.
Yeah, I think that this news right here, if this doesn't break the barrier, then something is seriously going on inside the party. Democrats definitely have a message behind the scenes. In my opinion, they're definitely talking to each other about how to address this, and they still haven't figured it out, obviously, because their messaging is just silence. And that doesn't seem to be working for them. But I think this is definitely going to force Fairfax out of office. It has to.
Yeah, and again, so it's interesting. They had a zero tolerance policy for this type of stuff, the Me Too. Also, the Me Too people have been very quiet. I have not seen any riots or mass protests in the streets of Virginia. I haven't really...
No, and it's a very liberal state. I grew up in Virginia.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, Richmond, Virginia state capital, right now, if it was Republicans in office, in power, it would be swarmed. It would be flooded.
Like
I
buildings
promise
burning
you.
down.
I promise you. I know
riots
it would
in
be.
the street. So again, this is a story we'll continue to follow, but I think it is important to highlight the reactions because again, this is something we've talked about, that the Me Too movement's a bit of a farce. While some good things came of it, again, it was being used as a political weapon for the left, and this is another great example of it.